Hey guys, and welcome back to TopCheddar Sports. I am Spencer, and I'm Hobbes. And today, we're talking some baseball, and what the? You don't want to talk about baseball? Alright, I guess I'll be talking about baseball all by myself. Wednesday. Wednesday is the trade deadline. So, this is going to be a bit of a long episode. I'll get into all the trade stuff in a bit, but real quick, just want to highlight a few things that happened during the week in some of the game action. The Twins are the fastest team to 200 home runs in a season. Through 104 games, they have 201 home runs. That's pretty crazy, and it's large part due to Max Kepler, Eddie Rosario, and Nelson Cruz. They're all having incredible years. Speaking of Nelson Cruz, Cruz was a part of a pretty neat group this past week. He hit 3 home runs in a single game, along with Robinson Cano of the Mets. He was the first to do it this past week. Paul DeJong followed him up, Paul DeJong of the Cardinals. Nelson Cruz was the next to do it, and then Mookie Betts of the Boston Red Sox hit 3 home runs in a single game himself. Now, it's pretty incredible because these games happened on back-to-back-to-back-to-back nights. So 4 nights in a row, baseball had one player hit 3 home runs in a single game. Pretty cool. Mookie Betts especially was cool because it only took him 4 innings to hit his 3 home runs. And then on top of that, Robinson Cano, tip of the cap to him. It was his first ever career 3 home run game. He's been in the game for a while now, so congrats to him. Trey Turner, latest player to hit for a cycle. This is his second career cycle, and he hit it against the Rockies this week. The team he completed his first cycle against just 2 years ago. So that's pretty weird and pretty awesome. Last bit of news from the game. See, we're rolling right through this. We're going fast. Paul Goldschmidt. Gonna toot my own horn here a little bit. He began to finally heat up and play like Paul Goldschmidt. Goldie has recorded a home run in now 6 consecutive games, leading the Cards to wins. In 5 of those 6, Goldie heating up has been great for the Cardinals because as he goes, so do they. So we'll talk about them a little more in a bit. On to the trade news now. There were trades that happened this past week, so I'm going to highlight those. Again, deadline this Wednesday, but that isn't going to stop teams like the Cubs, the Rays, wheeling and dealing already. So let's get into it. Derek Holland has found himself shipped from the Giants off to the Cubs this past week. No current return has been announced yet. Holland found himself relegated to a bullpen role. He hasn't really had the strongest of years so far, so it's a bit questionable. He has a 5.9 ERA, and his FIP is actually above 6. So that implies that he's actually been getting help from his fielders. Awful. Overall, it's a move that feels unnecessary. But what it shows to me is that the Cubs aren't comfortable or don't think that they'll be able to do something on the market with some potential arms that are out there. So this was a move for them to add a little bit of pitching depth. They did lose some earlier this month when they traded Mike Montgomery for Martin Maldonado. So Montgomery wasn't really doing well, so they did lose depth there technically. Maybe they think Holland, with a change of scenery, will be able to do something. The Marlins completed a trade, sending Sergio Romo, Chris Valimont, and a player to be named later to the Twins. Those same Twins who've hit 200 home runs, now they're grabbing some arms for Lewin Diaz. Diaz is already 22 and hasn't touched the majors yet. Regardless, though, he is batting just under 300, and he does have 19 home runs. So he seems like a pretty well-rounded hitter. It'll be interesting to see what he does once he hits some of the higher leagues. The Twins, in return, get a veteran pitcher in Romo. who should help solidify the bullpen. Romo has a 3.58 ERA in just 37 2/3 innings, but he has been working in the Marlins' most high leverage situations. They also received an interesting pitching prospect in Valimont. He has a similar outlook to Diaz in the fact that he also is probably going to take a year or two before he hits the majors, but he already is pitching well, and so in a couple of years he may be able to make a big league impact. In the end, this trade is probably going to go down as a win-win, especially if Diaz becomes the major league player that it looks like he could become. The next trade was Jake Diekman being traded from the Royals to the A's. Diekman has struggled a little this year, but the veteran lefty has posted a really good strikeout rate. 63 strikeouts in just 41 2/3 innings pitched. In return, the Royals get Darren Blanco, a 26-year-old outfielder who has yet to find his way to the majors, and, sorry if I messed up this name, Ismael Aquino, a pitcher who has had some struggles this year, but he is 20 years old, so the raw potential is there for him to potentially bounce back. The last trade to note is Eric Sogard being traded from the Jays to the Rays, a little rhyme action. Sogard is batting a nice round 300. It's really impressive. He's got a perfect 2 WAR, so right there as a starter. This year, after never posting an average over 273, so good for him. He should be perfect for the Rays, can pretty much play anywhere. He's very versatile, and beyond that, he's cheap, and he's playing out of his mind, which is the Rays way, so good for them. They did well on this one. The only thing to note about this is that no return has yet been announced because the deal is still pending a physical. That being said, I would have to imagine the Rays did not have to give up anything of note, but might be able to update you all about that in a little bit. All right, so that does it for the trades that have actually happened. So now the question is, there's a lot of rumors swirling around right now. I was spreading a few last week, no big deal. Which ones should you believe and which ones should you not? So the Mets, for example, are potentially exploring the possibility of trading Noah Syndergaard, Thor with the hammer, and then using some of that return because they would get a boatload, hopefully, unless they somehow mess this up too, and then use that boatload to go after Marcus Stroman of the Blue Jays, a pitcher who's not as good as Syndergaard. What? If you're a Mets fan, hopefully you can't believe this. However, everyone, you should believe that Marcus Stroman is most likely on the move. We interrupt your daily Top Cheddar Sports, Top Cheddar Monday baseball update for some breaking news. It has been reported just minutes after Spencer stopped recording this video that Marcus Stroman has in fact been traded to the Mets for Anthony Kay and Simeon Woods Richardson. Past Spencer, it would be really embarrassing if you said that this trade was super unlikely. Now that being said, Noah Syndergaard is still a Met as of right now, and it doesn't look like they are going to be trading him since they got Stroman with their own pieces. Now, I just got off the phone. Not only that, Hunter Wood and Christian Arroyo have been traded from the Rays to the Indians for minor league outfielder Ruben Cardenas. That is all that has been reported since Spencer finished that video. So past Spencer, we're going to throw it back to you, and I get back to work. The Indians find themselves in a difficult situation, to say the least. So rumors have been swirling about them potentially trading Trevor Bauer, one of the best pitchers in the AL. But with the Indians now in sole possession of a wild card spot, and just a game back in their division of the Twins, they're no longer sellers and absolutely need to be buyers. If they buy, there's a good chance they could take the Central, which everybody thought they would do anyway. And honestly, if they stay pat, they seem to be doing just fine, and the Twins are just going to implode on themselves. Expect Bauer to stay put. Another team in an interesting position, similar to that of the Indians, is the Giants. The Giants have also caught fire, and whether it be the right time or wrong time, however you want to look at it, they no longer can entertain a trade of Mad Bum unless they are getting back the best return we've ever seen, because they just can't afford to give up Bumgarner. That being said, because of where they are at in standings, which we'll touch on in a bit, they could still trade off some of these expendable pieces, and if they fall, so be it. If they are able to keep rolling even without these guys, even better. The Tigers will most likely be hearing calls on Matt Boyd, Shane Green, and Nicholas Castellanos. All three are perfect for contenders. Any team that is looking to improve could certainly use any of these guys. Castellanos is especially interesting because I believe he came up as actually a third baseman, has since moved to a corner outfield spot, but he does have some versatility there that teams could explore, especially a team like the Astros or the Dodgers. They don't have a lot of holes, so he would almost be a bench bat for them, but because of his versatility and how good he actually is, he could squeeze his way in and they can use him to give other guys days off. All three should net the Tigers a good return as well, so it's a win-win for them. The Pirates are now a perfect candidate to sell. Sorry, Brett. With Dickerson and Cabrera stealing time in that outfield, they might as well ship one of them off. Pirates could also look to move, and I know nobody's going to want to hear this, Felipe Vasquez. He's the most intriguing one, and he is the player who is going to net them the best return, even though he's a guy who comes in for one inning, every 2 days. That being said, Vasquez is pitching like one of, if not the best relief pitchers in the game right now. He's having an incredible year, and he has an incredible contract. So a team would have to give up a hell of a lot to pull him away from the Pirates. The Pirates shouldn't just take the best deal available because obviously he's still under contract. So they could explore trading him in subsequent years. Dickerson and Cabrera, however, get one of them out of there. Make sure Reynolds is in every day. Make sure Osuna is your first guy off the bench. If not, also squeezing a little more playing time in for him. Look for the Pirates to sell. The Royals have started making moves, and they could look to make another big one if they so choose. Whit Merrifield would be the interesting player there. Again, versatile. Look at somebody like the Dodgers, somebody like the Astros to try and maybe add him, or a team that just could use an upgrade at second base. Merrifield is a very good player, and again, team-friendly contract. Royals could use him to bolster the farm, which hasn't really produced anybody like Hosmer, Moose, or Perez in quite a while, so look for them to potentially do that. Overall, expect the Royals, the Tigers, and the Mariners to be the biggest sellers in the AL, given the pieces that they have available to move. I didn't really touch on the Mariners. They just have a lot of expiring contracts of mediocre players, so they won't really net a big return, but something's better than nothing. They're not making the playoffs. In the NL, expect the Mets, the Marlins, Reds, Pirates, and honestly the Giants to probably sell. That being said, there are teams that are even in worse situations, such as the Rockies and the Padres in the West, for example. Don't necessarily expect them to sell or buy, just expect them to potentially stay put and kind of try and run it back next year. In the AL, expect the Rays to continue to buy while their division rivals, the Yankees and the Red Sox, look to add a few arms to either the bullpen or the rotation. Expect the Twins and Indians to add to try and get a leg up on one another. The Astros are the last AL team, and I've been saying them a lot, that will most likely go out of their way to add. However, the Astros boast one of the most balanced teams in baseball, don't have too many areas that they need to fill or improve on. If anything, a bullpen arm would be expected, but otherwise, don't be surprised if they end up staying put. In the NL, the Braves, Nationals, Phillies, all out of the East will look to add pieces as they look to either close the gap or pull away not only within the division but within the wild card as well. Within the tight NL Central, the Cards, Cubs, Brewers will all look for ways to improve. They're in a similar situation as the East. Lastly, in the NL, the Dodgers, they're the Astros of the NL. Same boat. They're going to probably look to add something, but not too many holes. Bullpen, probably the thing that they need to improve the most. Everybody can use bullpen help. You say it all the time. Trade deadline, one relief pitcher gets traded. It's a blast. Obviously, there isn't a whole lot that is known, and the potential for a mind-boggling trade is always possible. That's just some of the stuff that I want to throw out there, stuff to keep an eye out for, stuff that's most likely to happen. Given that this year is the first year where the July 1st deadline is a hard deadline, there's no waivers or anything like that. The last trade will be made July 1st and no later, so expect it to be busy for sure. And if it is super busy, I will be back hopefully Thursday for a video that kind of talks about everything that happened and get you all caught up. Okay, I need a deep breath. We're on to stat leaders now, and sound the alarm! With a .338 average and 36 home runs, Christian Yelich now holds 2 of the 3 Triple Crown stats, and he is just 7 RBIs away from Josh Bell's 86 for the lead in all 3 categories. I don't think it'll happen. Josh Bell is continuing to have a good year. But that being said, 7 RBIs isn't all that far away. We see guys have 6 RBI games here and there, so it could happen. On to the pitching side of leaders. Ryu still leads with his 1.74 ERA. Garrett Cole has a huge lead, almost 30 strikeouts ahead of Scherzer with 212. And Lance Lynn, Steven Strasburg, Justin Verlander, and Eduardo Rodriguez. Am I reading that right? Yes. That Eduardo Rodriguez from the Red Sox. Let it sink in. They're all tied with 13 wins apiece. 2 of those things, not like the other. Kirby Yates, still your saves leader with 31. On the standings, the Yankees hold an 8-game lead over the Red Sox. The Twins have squandered their lead they once had, just have a 1-game lead like we talked about in the Central over the Indians. And in the West, the Astros also hold an 8-game lead over the A's. As of right now, the Indians have a 4-game lead for the top wildcard spot, while Boston and Oakland are tied for the second with just a half-game lead over the Rays. It's worth noting the Angels are the only other team in the AL within 5 games of a wildcard spot. In the NL, the Braves hold a 6.5-game lead over the Nationals. The Cards have swooped in to first in the Central. Let's go. Do a little happy dance. Cardinals are leading the division. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're going to mess up the deadline, but they're in the lead. They hold just a 1-game lead over the Brewers and Cubs, and the Dodgers in the West have seen their lead shift a little bit. They are now 15.5 games ahead of the Diamondbacks and the Giants. Nationals, Cubs, and Brewers are all tied for the 2 wildcard spots, with Philly, Arizona, and San Fran all within 3 games back. That will do it for Top Cheddar this Monday. That'll do it for me. Brett will be with you all tomorrow to talk some more NBA, and I will potentially, like I said, see you guys Thursday for a trade update, or right back here next Monday for some more baseball talk.